My name is Tom Dunbar, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Zhivago affair. And what this is a book written about the events surrounding Boris Pasternak's Dr. Zhivago. This takes place in Cold War Russia. Now, imagine you being who you are in the country that you live in. You were allowed to say what you want to say, no matter who's listening, no matter who it offends, no matter if it's very controversial or universal thoughts like love. Now imagine that you live in a country where you were silenced. You had a voice, but you weren't allowed to speak. And that is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the political history of Russia, the book itself, Dr. Zhivago, and the publication and government involvement with the book. Now, the USSR, 1957, was in the middle of a Cold War. It had just gotten its new leader, Nikita Khrushchev. During this time, you'd think that arts and things like that were not of high importance. It is actually the opposite. During this time, it was actually called the Khrushchev Thaw, which lessened the restrictions it had on arts and writings, music, and theater. So a lot of new publications were actually coming out. The downside to this is that if any of them were considered to be anti-government or anti-communism, they were not published and not allowed to be viewed or listened to. Now, with Khrushchev's advisors having read first copies of Dr. Zhivago, written by Boris Pasternak, since they were about the 1905 Russian Revolution and Civil War, they were thought to be very anti-government and anti-communism. So Khrushchev denied his publication within the USSR, making him flee to Italy to have it be published. Now, the book itself is about the 1905 Russian Revolution. Although this is a major theme surrounding it, it is actually about the main character, Dr. Zhivago, who was an army doctor who is basically following this nurse around who he ends up falling in love with. And all of this is from the eyes of his uncle, who is trying to find Dr. Zhivago and interrogating this woman who he believes to be his daughter. Now, it is a very emotional and powerful book, but since it was considered to be anti-government, it was not allowed to be published. This is where governments get involved to get it back into the USSR and into the hands of their people. However, it is not the Italian government and not the Russian or USSR government that got it back into the country. It was actually the United States government and the CIA. So, since it was thought to be very anti-government and anti-communism, the CIA wanted to smuggle the book back into USSR to create dissension in the country and its people, so they might rise up against Khrushchev and overthrow him and the Communist Party, although they did not know that it was anti-government. So, with it back into the hands of the USSR, Khrushchev got a copy of it and actually read it himself. Knowing this information about the book, he realized that he had nothing to worry about at all, and that the central theme of it was not war, not government, but love. So he said, if I had read this before, without my advisors, I would have published it on the spot. Boris Pasternak's Dr. Zhivago is one of the greatest pieces of literature in the last century. Now, with leaders, in conclusion, if you have leaders that are denying your voice, what do? You have to write it no matter what, even if it's not liked. You have to create art. You have to create what you love, even if it's not liked. So this is what I give to you. No matter who is above you, no matter what they say that you can't do, but you have passion, you have to give yourself to that passion. Create what you love and let it rise. Thank you. I would also recommend reading Dr. Zhivago or watching the adaptation. 1965, again, the movie called Dr. Zhivago, directed by David Lean, who also directed Lawrence of Arabia, starring Omar Sharif, who was also in Lawrence of Arabia. So it is a very, very good piece of work. Thank you.